Hi everyone. There is a quote by French revolutionist Maximilien Robespierre where, in an attempt to justify terror tactics used by the government, he says, "If virtue be the spring of a popular government in times of peace, the spring of that government during a revolution is virtue combined with terror." Given the current climate of the world, it is important to not only give care to present situations, but also to reflect on past situations involving the people and the government. The old French monarchy is a perfect example of a grand aristocracy falling to violence. For me, the French Revolution is interesting because of how the lavish life of the royal family turned to chaos. I think that studying historical figures closely and humanizing them beyond a textbook description is interesting as well. Today, I want to speak about the causes and consequences of the French Revolution. To understand the buildup of this event, we must first understand the historical context. There was a large disconnect between the French social classes in the 18th century. It was more than a week's carriage ride distance between rural France, where the majority of the population lived, and Paris, where the aristocrats lived. And also, the lower class spoke its own dialect and was not able to understand the French or Latin that the upper class spoke, creating a language barrier. In order to better understand the causes of the French Revolution, we must also examine the actions of some historical figures that led to the buildup of the resentment towards the monarchy. King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were heavily scrutinized by the French people. While the people of France were starving, King Louis was investing in a foreign war, the American Revolution. The Americans actually inspired the French people to revolt against their own government. Marie Antoinette was also the subject of much scrutiny because of her lavish lifestyle, and even though she never said the words "let them eat cake," it can be argued that she was simply a victim of her environment. She was put in as she left her homeland to marry Louis at a young age, and was even scrutinized for her Austrian blood long before the starvation situation in France. Nevertheless, at the time of the Revolution, the French peasants viewed her as a symbol of greed and privilege. Of course, a historical event of this magnitude had a great impact. There were both short-term and long-term impacts of the French Revolution. In the short term, violence and death were the main effects. In the 6 weeks after King Louis was executed, around 1,400 other people who were also considered threats to the revolution were also guillotined. In the long term, democracy and capitalism were the main effects. The fall of the monarchy allowed for Enlightenment ideas to flourish. The effects of the revolution are important to consider when forming an opinion on whether the violence of the revolution was worth the gains. Now that I've discussed with you the causes and consequences of the French Revolution, you should now have a clear understanding of the events leading up to and preceding the revolution. It's now up to you to decide if you side with the monarchy or the side of liberty, equality, and fraternity. And here are my sources. Thank you guys.